Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk podcast. This is United show. This is Devil's Advocate. It's the Manchester United season review. We said we'd give it a week break. I think we were all hurting last week after the FA Cup final. So we said we'd take it some time off, no knee-jerk reactions or anything like that. So we said, look, we'll take some time. And I'm joined by two very special guests here today. Joined to the right of me by Jamie Andrews, my co-host normally on the weekly Armchair, and also joined by Brian Murphy, momentarily from straight. Brian just dropped out there, but he should be back on there in a second. Tonight, obviously, we're going to discuss Manchester United's season as a whole. We're going to as you can see here, that says Man United tier list. So what we will be doing, myself, Jamie and Brian, is we will be rating the players individually. And obviously at the end, we're going to give our goal of the season, obviously player of the season, etc. towards the end. So do smash the like video, do subscribe, guys. And look, we do appreciate your support over the season. It's been a long old season, and it's good to see everyone showing support for the channel these last couple of months. But Jamie, I'll just come to you first. Obviously, we've had I suppose the start of the season was crazy. Obviously Ten Hag was coming in post Ralph Rangnick. Look, we all know how the Ralph Rangnick era kind of erupted. It was disgrace, really. Ten Hag came into a very tough regime, obviously, seeing his problems with Ronaldo, Harry Maguire, and the Glazers not giving him his transfers up until the end of the window. He gets Casemiro and Anthony in quite late. He gets Eriksen in on a free, Malacia kind of on a cut price deal. You look at them first two results, Jamie, of Brighton and Brentford. Were you fearing the worst for United, considering we had fan protests at the time? There was a lot of unrest with the ownership as well around that same time. Were you worried after the first two results of the season?
Yeah, I think everyone was. From where we'd gone and where the season had finished under Rangnick, we thought that was pretty rock bottom. It was some of the worst football we've ever seen. There was a real disconnect between the fan base and the team. There's been a disconnect between the ownership and the fan base since they took over, so that's nothing new. But it felt like there was a real turning point towards the end of last season where a lot of the fans didn't get on side with the team. It didn't feel like the team cared, and they didn't share the same passion that we have for the club. Obviously, certain players did, but as a whole, we've really sort of, like I say, hit rock bottom. And then with Ten Hag taking over, I think it raised everyone's expectations slightly. We'd seen him do really good stuff with Ajax, and we were getting a promising guy that could clearly build a project here. And then obviously those first two results, you do, alarm bells are ringing, and you go in. Here we go again. We're picking up exactly where we left off. We didn't even get a new manager bounce at that point. Our new manager bounce was the Bangkok Century Champions Cup or whatever it was, where we beat the Scousers in pre-season. And you think, I was in a United supporters bar in Malta watching that Brentford 4-0, and everyone around the room was just like, what's going on here? So you do sit there and you think, we're in for a long ride here. And at that point, I don't think anyone blamed Ten Hag necessarily. It was evident that the squad needed a rebuild in the summer. And at that point, we hadn't got anywhere near as many players over the line as we needed, as Ten Hag would have wanted. And so you do strap yourself in and think, we're in for another season of heartache, of broken promises, of disappointing football. And then, of course, like the game against the Scousers at Old Trafford acted as the springboard for the season. And we started to see Ten Hag making the decisions that he needed to make. And I think that's something that he's continued with throughout the season, is that he's good at making tough decisions. I think he dealt with the Ronaldo situation really well. He's dealt with the Harry Maguire situation really well. We'll probably see a conclusion to that saga this summer, I imagine. But he's a man that clearly has the best interests for the club at heart. He gets what the fans are about. And it's been a season of, Old Trafford back to its best. And the people, that I speak to regularly, and the people that I surround myself with at United enjoy the football again. It's been a good season, and we've been at Wembley 3 times. Granted, the last visit wasn't what it could have been and what it should have been, and we've endured some pain over the season as well. But I think all in all, the guy's shown that he's got the foundations to really get us back ticking as long as he's backed in the window. So, yeah, I think I couldn't be further from how I felt at the start of the season at the end of it. Do you know what I mean? I love the guy. I think he's the right man for the job. He's tactically, he's been spot on at sets, several times throughout the season, and I think that there's still a long way to go under him, but he's really shown the blueprints for success so far.
Brian, just on that, obviously Jamie talked about turning points in the season. Obviously, the result against Liverpool was probably one of the most important ones, considering the start we had. Do you look at his ability to adapt his own style to the current crop of players that he had? Because truth be told, when he was at Ajax, he was kind of all about possession football. Then you've seen this Erik ten Hag team kind of, I suppose, it didn't look like the classic Ajax side that he had. So were you surprised that he was able to adapt to the Premier League, as opposed to maybe the players adapting to him?
I won't say I was surprised. I mean, when you're hiring someone like Erik ten Hag with the profile he had coming in, you're going to expect him to be able to shuffle his ideas about a bit to suit what he has in the squad. Initially, the first couple of games in the season, I may have been a little bit worried, thinking, "Oh no, is this going to work out or not?" I think we all got a bit of a shell shock at the start, but he's shown he can shake it up. He's shown he can change his ideas a bit. He's a bit obstinate, a bit stubborn when it comes to substitutions. Especially with dropping players. He sticks with people so much at times that you kind of worry, is there going to be an element of burnout coming into play, especially when we had a squad that wasn't exactly laden with squad depth. I felt it might have punished us a little bit as the season went on. He is a bit obstinate that way. He's a bit stubborn and stuck in his ways in the starting 11 selection, but maybe that was more to do with the fact we didn't have enough to come in and give players a break, more so than himself. Hard to call it, but no, look, he's a cracker manager. He's come into a situation. I wouldn't envy his job taking over the job initially. I mean, from what's gone before him, the state the club's in, the unrest with the fans, a couple of rotten apples in the squad. It wasn't the most glamorous and most enticing job for anyone. Even though it's Manchester United and you have the status and the reputation of being the club we are, we've been a shit show for a decade. I mean, any manager who's come in has had major problems, but as Jamie said, he's dealt with the Ronaldo situation. Wow, what a way to deal with that. Absolutely top class. Harry Maguire, club captain, fans on his back. How's he going to deal with this one? And he's dealt with it. He's dealt with it perfectly. He's just ushered him out of the side nice and quietly. And in fairness, got to give Harry Maguire credit for this as well. He's not kicked up any fuss about it, and he's not gone to the agent and gone bitching to the press and the media like Mr. Henderson did, our lovely keeper. So there's a bit of both of them involved in that, but obviously Ten Hag's influence over Maguire and how he behaves and how he controls himself would have swayed that. He's really, really dealt very well with some really dodgy topics and dodgy situations. He's been a breath of fresh air with someone who I think we can get behind long term. Whereas a couple of the last gaffers we've had, you kind of looked at it and gone, yeah, it's working for now, but they're going to work long term. But I like Ten Hag's style and ball is best.
Yeah, 100%. And the one thing I always liked about him this season is he never got baited by a journalist at any point. When we had a bit of times difficulty, he never kind of bought into that. He never, there was times where we had a couple of bad results, and he'd always, he'd bounce back. There was no kind of rot, like a full-on rot in the season where we've seen under Solskjaer, we've seen under Mourinho, Van Gaal, that there was always kind of a long time where we'd win a game. And with Ten Hag, that was different. So that's something that I was really impressed with. Jamie, the home form did this season, when you look at, like Brian said, last decade, it's been a shit show, in terms of the whole club. This season, though, Erik ten Hag, one thing he laid out in pre-season is that he wanted to make Old Trafford a fortress again. We'd won the best home records, in the Premier League, and very few goals conceded at home all season. And obviously, our goalkeeper won the Golden Glove, which we'll talk about players later on. But what do you make of him making Old Trafford a fortress again? Considering obviously post Sir Alex, Old Trafford's been a place where teams have actually come now where they actually fancy to get points, where this season it wasn't like that at all. And even in Europe as well, it was the same.
Yeah, I think that was one of the first things he needed to do, was to sort out the home form. We've spent far too long over the last few years, like you say, slipping up to teams that we should be easily beating. And people were coming to Old Trafford, and it wasn't like the Old Trafford of old where they chalk it off as a loss at the start of the season. When a manager's planning their season or whatever, they go, United at Old Trafford is probably going to be a loss. We'll play for a draw or whatever. People knew that if they got at us and if they attacked us, more than likely we'd crumble. He's changed that. We obviously, aside from the Brighton loss, the Sociedad loss, and are they the only 2 home losses we had this season?
We had
one more.
No, I think Brighton was.
It was one in the league, and then obviously it was Sociedad the day that the Queen died. Rest in peace, Lizzie. Thanks for costing us the top spot in the group. And I think he's clearly drummed it into the players that you're playing in front of the best fans in the league. You're playing at the most traditional, historic ground in the league. For the biggest club in England, one of the biggest clubs in the world, go out there and play like it. And something's clicked and something's worked. And there's not been a single game at Old Trafford this year where I've thought we're going to struggle here, because we'll give them a bit of a fight. The City game obviously is one of those ones where even against the best side in Europe and some they've gone on and they've won the treble, which as vile as it is, we go toe to toe with them at Old Trafford and we come away with a win. Chelsea, they were in decline, yes, but they're still a big side. They love a result against us, or we love it to be a 0-0 or whatever, and we absolutely hammered them. We beat Arsenal at home, we beat Liverpool at home. So there's some really good performances in there across the season. And I don't think the away form necessarily is. I know we'll probably touch on that. The away form, yes, is troubling, but there's that stat that City have the exact same away form as us. They didn't win against the top 7 away from home all season either. But no one talked about it because it's not Man United. But look, I think that he's got the Old Trafford performances spot on. Yeah, there's been a couple of pedestrian performances in there. Southampton springs to mind when Casemiro got sent off. And it's a 0-0 draw, and it's pretty passive and boring throughout most of the game. But the majority of fixtures at Old Trafford this season have been good. So, and that's what most fans want. They want to know that they're going to turn up to Old Trafford and see us have a go, and see us play like we're Man United, that we're going to play to win, and that we're not sitting back. And look, and I think he's going to build on it. I think if he gets the players in that he wants this summer, and we continue the home form, then the away form will come as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Look, definitely with time, I think we need to get a hold of that away form, because it was mad. Because under Ollie, our away form was class, and it was the home form that was bad. Now since Ten Hag's come in, it's been like the other way around. But look, hopefully, like you said, with additions, and look, with Ten Hag having more time on the training ground, that we can, I suppose, wipe out that away form we have, especially against the top better sides in the league. I'd like us to kind of go to an Emirates, go to especially go to Anfield after what fucking happened there. We need to right that wrong next season, 100%. But look, we will talk to that result very briefly. But Brian, speaking of Scousers, a certain Scouser who hasn't blocked me on Twitter, I don't know how, Jamie Carragher, slagged off our 5'9" maestro, Lisandro Martinez. He came in with a lot of criticism and a lot of, I suppose, a lot of doubters coming in. He's obviously come in and he's kind of really held our defence down. He's been a fantastic signing. Were you surprised? Obviously, you look at the style of centre half that's traditionally in the Premier League. Were you surprised that we went out and signed Lisandro Martinez, and how happy are you with his impact at Man United?
Excuse me. Am I surprised we signed him? Do you know something, Keane? As I get a bit older, I start to lose interest in foreign leagues. So do I keep up to date with who's playing well in what leagues and who's playing for who? To be honest with you, I don't. I kind of got into this little zone where I just kind of focus on United, so I don't take too much attention to like La Liga and Bundesliga and that. I kind of followed the transfer as it developed. Wasn't sure what to make of him when he came in, but looked like a tough little bastard. Looked like he's the kind of fella I'd like to support behind him. Obviously, when Carragher went for him, that made me 100 times more supportive of a fella. He's a little bulldog, isn't he? He came in and he took the league by storm for a while and just kicked the shit out of everybody. Aggressive, fantastically strong defensively, unbelievable mindset, attitude. It's the kind of attitude that lads in the ground are going to get behind. It's going to get you on your feet. So like when he squares up to someone and he gives them a little bit of a nudge and he's like, "Come on and fucking let's have it." That's what you want to see. Like, I mean, that's what football used to be about, instead of prima donnas prancing around the place these days. So it's a bit of a flashback to kind of attitudes of old. I've been massively impressed with him. He's definitely rammed those words down Carragher's throat for sure. Massive loss at the end of the season with injury. One of the main issues I think we faced as we closed out the season was missing him. He's a cracking little centre back, and I think he'll be very important for us going forward.
Definitely, and look, he's like you said, he's proved a lot of people wrong, and he's been fantastic. And his leadership, his ability in the ball, and one thing I think is actually underrated is how he reads the game and how he wins headers, considering the size of him. Like that's something I've been really impressed with since he's come in, and I think he can even improve next season with, let's say if we get like another midfielder beside Casemiro who come in, drop deep, take the ball off him, we can definitely work out with Martinez there. He can definitely be better going forward. Speaking about another addition we had, Jamie, it was a very kind of last minute signing. And he was announced on the day we played Liverpool with Casemiro. Obviously, since Michael Carrick, we've had Schneiderlin, we've had Schweinsteiger, we've had other DMs, Fellaini, Matic, but we never signed anyone really in that role in their prime. We've bought like one of the I suppose you're talking about this generation of footballers right now, probably one of the best defensive midfielders in this generation, because obviously he was coming from Real Madrid, and Real Madrid don't have a history of selling their best players often. Were you worried? Was this a lad coming for one last big paycheck? And like when you look at the way he's worked out, his leadership and his overall impact at United, how happy are you with Casemiro? And do you think, especially with the captaincy maybe up in the air in this summer, that he could be someone that could be a nominee for that armband?
Yeah. In terms of signing him, the video that we did on this channel when we announced him, if you go back and watch that, I think everything I've said, not to be that, I told you so sort of guy, has come true. That I didn't think he was coming for one last paycheck, because he didn't strike me as that sort of guy. Obviously, like Real Madrid have that history of realistically not selling players unless they think that their usefulness is up. But he's come into arguably the most intense league in the world and has absolutely bossed it. But that's a testament to the character that he has. You can see that he was such a key linchpin in Madrid's like ridiculous success that they've had over the last decade. You know what I mean? Like how many Champions Leagues that they've won. They've always been one of the best teams in Europe. Even when they go through their shaky periods or whatever, they're still a force to be reckoned with. When they're playing in the Champions League, whatever. And he's always been at the heart of that. And he's been such an important player for us this season. The only thing, obviously, that I think is frustrating at times is that I don't think he had a red card in his entire Real Madrid career, and then he come into United and he's had two in the same season. And he was a big loss for us. I think that speaks more to the depth of the squad than it does necessarily to blaming him, being like, oh, look at what you've cost us there. Like it's not his fault that if he's out, we have to rely on McTominay or Fred to sit in that sixth role. But yeah, look, I think no one should be surprised that Casemiro's come in and done what he's done, and he's elevated the level of that squad, because not only is he brilliant at tackling, he's brilliant at interceptions, his intelligence of the game, the way he reads it, and then his passing as well. Like, because of playing alongside Kroos and Modric at Real Madrid for so long, he obviously didn't need to be necessarily involved in the second phase of build-up or whatever, and he wasn't the guy that was playing in the passes behind because he had two world-class passes ahead of him. So he's coming to United, and we've seen a side to him I don't think we've necessarily seen much of at Real Madrid. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've watched Real Madrid week in, week out for the last 10 years or whatever, but I've seen enough of him to know that he did his role at Madrid fantastically, screening the back forward, and he breaks up play really well. But to see that level of ball retention from him, to see the passes that he plays in behind, the form that Rashford was in, where he was scoring week in, week out, and you could see Casemiro always looking up, seeing if he could play in behind. And I think the only thing that surprised me is actually how good he has been. I'm not surprised necessarily with the level of performances he's shown us week in, week out, but there's something about the extras that he's offered us that I wasn't really aware of. And if the club is clever now, which is asking a lot, because we have not been clever, since Fergie left, since David Gill went, we've not done anything smart realistically. They need to be looking at somebody, whoever's going to be the Casemiro replacement needs to come in sooner rather than later, so they can play with him in training, they can watch him week in, week out, and they can learn from him, because that man is a role model. He's one of the best defensive midfielders in Europe. We've clearly said that. And I think he's still going to be a massively important player for us next year. He's had his moments, where he's been a little bit off the pace. And if you watch when Casemiro's a bit off the pace, the whole team is, because that's how important he is to that squad. But what a signing, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, every day of the week, it was 60 million with 10 million in add-ons. It could have been 60 million with another 60 million add-ons, and I think we'd still got our money's worth. Do you know what I mean? Like, the guy is a Rolls Royce.
Yeah, he's different gravy. I had, look, I'm not gonna lie. When I first seen the signing, when I first seen the report, I was a bit iffy because Madrid don't sell. They don't sell to. I suppose. Look, we weren't in the Champions League, so maybe that was that bit different that they sold to us. We're in the Europa League at the time, and the fact that actually showed United still have pull by signing one of the best defensive midfielders in the world, being in Europa League. But he's unbelievable. He's a brilliant leader, and I think like as well with Maguire, with the captaincy being up for debate in the summer, he's definitely someone I think who could take that armband and lead by example. I think look, him, Fernandes, Varane, Martinez, we'd have to throw them in a fatal four-way match and let's see who wins the wins the captaincy. We're probably going to have to do that because we've great candidates there. Brian's tweet there last week suggested De Gea might take it. But look, I think that was more tongue in cheek to get a bite on Twitter than him nominating De Gea. But he got good bites that day.
Give it to Dave. He's still going to be here next season. Might as well just give him the captaincy. What else are you going to do on the bench?
Yeah, he could be the cheerleader on the bench, I suppose. He might need to be fair to him. He might leave the seat on the bench like he doesn't leave his goal line. Look, we won't go there. We won't go there because the comment section I'll get absolutely battered later on. For I suppose criticizing them. But look, what we will do right now, we're going to quickly rattle off Player of the Season awards because I want to get into this tier list for rating the players over the season. So what we're going to do is we're going to go Player of the Season, Most Improved, Goal of the Season, the best game, or it could be your favorite game of the season, and then the signing of the season. And the final one we'll go is biggest letdown of the season. So first of all, Jamie, who is your Player of the Season for United this year?
I don't know whether this is controversial or not, but in my head it shouldn't be. Bruno Fernandes all day. I think it's been his best season in a United shirt. I think he's so integral to everything that we do. The man covers more distance than anyone else. He's created the most chances in the league. If we had a centre forward, like Julio made a good point. We finished third and won a cup without a striker all season. And I think if we had a proper centre forward, we'd see Bruno breaking the assist record. I think for me, as mint as Marcus has been, as good as Martinez, Casemiro have all been, Varane, it's Bruno for me. And I don't even think it's necessarily that close.
Brian, do you agree, or do you have a different player this season?
It's actually funny. It's funny that Jamie said that because I was curious as to what he'd say and who he'd say. I discussed it recently with Sean Connolly and Dale. We were discussing the four best players of the season. And funnily enough, when you look into Bruno Fernandes's metrics and statistics, he's been absolutely fucking ridiculously good. Yeah. But he doesn't get the plaudits he deserves for it because he's an easy target. Like, look, I've taken a pop at him from time to time about whinging and about being a bitchy little player sometimes. But quality-wise, he's just absolutely disgustingly good. If he ticks, we tick. If he doesn't tick, we're off the boil. It's like Casemiro. Casemiro and Bruno, very similarly. Bruno Fernandes doesn't play and doesn't turn up. We're not playing because he's key to us in that forward role. My player of the season, even though he missed quite a bit with suspension, rightly or wrongly, I think I have to give it to Casemiro. It's tight. Bruno probably is thereabouts, but I think just Casemiro coming into a new league, a team in the Europa League, a completely different country, not knowing what to expect from him, and to be that good just stands out for me. So I'll give it to Casemiro, but Bruno a close second. Yeah.
Both lads have fantastic choices, and look, there's about four or five players up for player of the season this year. There's been many good players. My player of the season is Marcus Rashford. I think I'm just looking at his goal scoring this season. He's been integral for us, obviously winning the Carabao Cup this season. He scored a lot of goals in that competition. Scored a lot in the Europa League as well. And look, we're talking about Bruno being like ticking, and we're talking about Casemiro making the team tick. If you look at Rashford the season before getting 5 goals and then getting 30 this season, I think you have to just tip your hat to him. I think Marcus Rashford, for me, player of the season. But like again, if you look at him, Martinez, Casemiro, Bruno, even Varane to an extent, you could argue a case for any single one of them, and you couldn't sit there and tell someone that they're wrong. There's so many good players like this season in certain positions. But look, personally, Marcus, for me, look, I think I'm just looking at his return, and if I even want to be a bit selfish, even a bit more, he scored a lot in the World Cup as well. And Gareth Southgate, me and Brian discussed before, and Jamie, yourself as an Englishman, you're probably looking at Gareth Southgate and wanted to strangle him. Like he only played a couple of minutes against France when he was England's top goal scorer in the World Cup as well. So yeah, look, Marcus Rashford's mine, but he could have easily been my player in the next category. Most improved, Brian, I'm going to come to you for that one first. Who's the most improved player this season?
It's why I didn't pick Marcus Rashford as my player this season, because he ticks the box for most improved by a distance. For a guy who was written off and a certain chap from the Nottingham area decided to say, take him from PSG, let him go. He's come on and he's absolutely fucking rammed everybody's words down their throat. Like, anyone who says they haven't at some stage doubted him is a liar. We all have. Everyone has gone to some stage and gone, shit, this isn't going great for him at all, or it's not working out. Is it injuries? Is it recurring injuries? Is it this? Is it that? I think a little bit of doubt crept in for everybody, but he's just turned around and gone, do you know what? I'm Marcus Rashford, and this is what I do. And he's just fucking took the league and the Europa and all that by storm, and he's been absolutely phenomenal this season. Without his goals, considering as Julio said, we'd no striker for the season. I mean, it was phenomenal from left wing. He was absolutely amazing. Yeah, so Marcus Rashford.
Marcus Rashford. Yeah, look, I was debating mine today. Like, is he most improved or is he my player of the season? I went player of the season on his goal return, but yeah, like you said, he's been phenomenal. And good shout out to Brent Hazard as well, for to sell him off there to PSG. Look, yeah, Nottingham Forest fans should not be commenting on Manchester United players, even if they have a dubious platform. Jamie, who's your most improved? Is Marcus? Are you Marcus?
So mine's probably a bit of a rogue choice, but I'll explain like why it wouldn't be Rashford for me. So I think that I agree with everything that Brian said. I always knew that he would come back good again, because let's not forget, last season was his only bad season in a United shirt. Like since he came onto the scene against Midtjylland, the guy's been a baller. And the numbers that he puts up, mainly from that left half space or whatever, have always been great. But people then just decided, like Brian said, everyone's so reactionary, especially if, fans on Twitter and stuff like that, because he's underperforming in a poor United side. Everyone was like, right, that's it, guy must be rubbish. And all of a sudden, that whole thing of, it's only because he's English that he's playing because he's a local lad. It's like, no, he plays because he's mint. He's absolutely mint. And then you see what he's done this season. It's just like, shocker. The man that used to score loads of goals in United shirt is back to scoring loads of goals in United shirt. And he'll kick on and he'll only get better when there's a centre forward next to him. Because we can all agree that his best position is off that left side. He's shown a few more hallmarks of a centre forward this year, and I think that his decision making has massively improved. He tailed off towards the end of the season, whether that was through fatigue or whether it was a loss of a couple of key players for injury and the team dynamic dropped. I don't know, but he'll kick on and he'll come back next season. But my most improved player is Aaron Wan-Bissaka, because for a man that was written off, right? Well, the reports were out that Ten Hag didn't even have him in training, that he was, going to be sold to whoever would give us £5 for him or whatever. For him to come back and to put in some of the performances that he's put in, there's that clip of him that still, proper makes me drool. Like one of him turning into prime Cafu, dancing around City players and stuff. It's like, with this man with his gangly legs, do you know what I mean? Like how he does that, I don't know. Again, he's been one of the best defensive right backs in the league. He's been integral to a lot of the work, and the fact that he's improved his attacking threat and he's looked so much better. And him and Anthony have a really good partnership down that right hand side, which we lose a little bit of when we see Dalot come in there. He doesn't have the same sort of understanding. So Wan-Bissaka making those inverted runs and allowing Anthony to still hug the touchline, or they do vice versa. I think Wan-Bissaka has done really well. I know obviously reports are now saying, excuse me, reports are now saying that Ten Hag's still looking to sell him, and while his stock's high, let's cash in on him. And I think that'd be a real shame, because I think to go from where he was at the start of the season to where he's finished the season, I think is a testament again to his character. He could have done like we were saying before. He could have done what Hendo did, what Lingard did. Getting frustrated with the game time, thinking they're bigger than the club, and going to the press. When Jesse Lingard did that interview with Stephen Bartlett and was slagging off United, Wan-Bissaka kept his head down. Obviously trained hard, waited for his moment, and then he took it. He grabbed it with both hands. And realistically, and I know the right back pool has been a bit crap this year, but he probably has been one of the best right backs in the league. And so I think that for me is enough to push him into my most improved player of the year. But again, Marcus is a great choice, and there's probably a couple of others. But yeah, Wan-Bissaka.
Do you know what? Wan-Bissaka was my one as well, and I can't say much more than what you've already said, Jamie. I think one thing for me as well, if you look at when he actually got back fit, he was on the bench, and last year I was playing right back ahead of him when Dalot wasn't free. I think that spoke for itself, how he got back into the side and how well he's done. Like, even if you look at the Carabao Cup final, so Dalot got there by Joe St. Maximin, he locked him down, and look what he done to Pedri in the new camp. Look what he done to other players, Martinelli. He's been a very good player. And look, again, I think it'd be a shame if he left, because one thing about him is he's a specialist in defending, whereas Dalot is a jack of all trades, an expert in none. That's the thing with Dalot. And I think if you're going for a more progressive right back, I know he's only have to sign the contract, but my line of thinking actually would have been sell Dalot and keep Wan-Bissaka. Now, Ten Hag obviously knows more about football than I do, so I'm not going to question his judgment, but that's what I personally would have done. But I think looking at how Ten Hag traditionally plays football, I was surprised to see Wan-Bissaka get games under him. So look, he's been great, but again, he could have done Marcus Rashford 5 goals the season before and then 30 this season. So yeah, to mind whatever Johnny FX says, Marcus Rashford's a top class player, and you can put him in any category you want. But yeah, that's
Rashford is a mint litmus test for people that understand and watch football, for people that don't, because I've never had a conversation with somebody that doesn't rate Marcus Rashford that has been, coherent. They're the sort of people, again.
There last weekend, Jamie.
Yeah. Talking about PR and stuff like that, saying that because Marcus Rashford's, social media team put out a compilation of his favourite moments of the season, our top goal scorer, the guy that swept the awards, putting out a little compilation going, it's been a good season. They're going, oh, it's PR work, shut up. Like the guy's mint, he probably was questioning himself last summer. Do you know what I mean? He played through the pain of his back problems. He had surgery. He didn't come back to his best. Ranić was apparently supposedly looking at, shipping him off. He probably saw the backlash he got from, certain fan-led channels that resonates through the social media fans. And he's probably sat there going, I've given my everything for this club since I was about 5 years old. We're playing for Fletcher Moss, and then he joined the academy. They moved him to Ashton on Mersey School so he could, get a better education while he's playing for the academy. He's done everything to get into the position he's in. So for him to put out a little social media video going, it's been an all right season, hasn't it? I'm glad I scored 30 goals. And people find anything to nail that guy with, man. But he is genuinely my favourite player in that United squad. I love him. He's from around the corner from me, which is one of those things where you get proud of your area. But and that boy, if he carries on, who's to say that he doesn't go on and break Rooney's record and become our all-time leading goal scorer? And what people are going to say about him then? Sorry, that was a mini little rant there, but does my nut in. If you don't rate Rashford, man, football ain't for you, and you don't enjoy watching football, because the guy fills me with so much joy.
I think it's just these certain crowd, they like aesthetics rather than actual performances. They're weird, a bunch of weirdos. I think that's the best phrase I can use. Goal of the season. I'll go first in this one. I'm gonna go. Speaking of Rashford, I'm going to go his one against Burnley in the Carabao Cup. The one where he took the ball from before the halfway line, took on everyone, and scored on the right hand side. I'm going to go with that one. I think it's just the fact it was a great solo goal. That'd be my goal of the season. Jamie, what would be your goal of the season?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because we've had quite a few bangers, probably one of the biggest bangers we had was Anthony's goal when we lost 6-3 to City. That was a wicked goal, but obviously I'm not going to pick that one because of the result. And it's annoying to want to pick Rashford's against Arsenal, but again, it doesn't matter because we lost that result as well. So I don't know if this is a rogue choice or not. Anthony's against Barcelona at Old Trafford. It was one of those, like, you know, an aesthetically pleasing goal. Oh, look at that. Julia was just coming and said the same thing. Great minds think alike. Aesthetically was a really pleasing goal, but I think just because of the gravity of it, thinking, it was a tough slog. And again, a man that's been, called out so wrongfully over the season for being shite and a waste of money, to score such a high stakes goal like that and to do it so well as well. Like, I think it was probably my favourite goal of the season. I'm not saying it was the best. You got Casemiro's little overhead kick there as well. That was a fun goal. But yeah, that Anthony one against Barcelona probably.
Would you be the same line thinking as Julio and Jamie with that, Brian, or there's any other goal that stands out to you?
Garnacho against Leeds for me.
Garnacho, was that yeah? Oh yeah, there was the one at Ellen Road, was it?
Just solely because I fully intend on calling my next child Alejandro after him. Everything he does. Jamie's talking about the joy that Marcus Rashford gives him. Garnacho is selling me a dream, and if he doesn't keep it up, I'm going to slap the head off him because he's doing an ad on Januzaj on me, and Januzaj, them wounds are still open. I haven't had Nando since he left. I'm fucking heartbroken. Garnacho's got me. He's grabbed me by the heart. Anything he does, it just excites me. I love watching him play football. He comes on for his little cameos, and he just gets you off your seat. You just want to see him have the ball. You want to see what he's capable of doing. He's a live wire, and it was just a goal. It was just a goal that caught my attention for the season. I quite enjoyed it, and I love watching him play football. So yeah, that's my one.
Yeah, and do you know what? The fact you said that as well, a certain person as well said Garnacho can hold the smoke before that game. And I never forget, Garnacho's brother was on Twitter, and Garnacho's brother tweeted him, "Oh, it's the best thing I've ever seen on Twitter all season. Fantastic."
Can I also just throw in another rogue suggestion? Is Bruno's goal against City at Old Trafford, just because the amount of piss that it boiled as well. With everyone turning around and talking about the conspiracies of him, it's clearly offside. Like, it's just one of those. You're fuming if it goes against you. Do you know what I mean? But when it goes in your favour, it's just a bit like, oh yeah. So it's just a little rogue one.
That was a good piss. That was a good piss boiler. Yeah, that was a good one. So yeah, we've all given our goals this season. Best game. I'm going to go myself. I'm going to go to Derby. I know that the Carabao Cup final was great, but if I'm talking about experiences inside Old Trafford this season, like, I know Old Trafford is nearly falling apart, but I genuinely thought Old Trafford was going to fall down when Rashford scored that winner. Like, it was electric, and the atmosphere there was one of the best I've heard in a long time. And it felt like that moment that Erik really was bringing us back. Like, it really felt like that after beating City, and they were on a great run of form. So coming up to that game, and and the fact that my two favourite players scored in the game in Rashford and Bruno there. For me, I go that one because personally I was there as well. Jamie, what's the best game of the season for you?
Again, it's a tricky one because obviously, like, the easy one to say is probably Barcelona at home. I think that was a huge game, and for obvious reasons. I don't think I need to explain why that's probably one of the best games. But I think from a weird personal stance, one of my favourite moments was West Ham in the FA Cup. And they were 1-0 up in like the 86th minute or whatever it was, and they're giving it, the away end were giving it, West Ham are massive everywhere, and we go on and beat them 3-1. And I was just like, it was just one of those moments where you just a bit like hearing the away end just go silent, and you're a bit like, that's what we like to do here. Do you know what I mean? And again, the whole game, while we were 1-0 down, you're still thinking, you're like, I don't care, man, we'll pull this back, we always do. And I think that was one of the moments for me where it clicked, and I was just like, this Ten Hag side is special. Like, there is no sort of never say die attitude in them. Yes, there's been some ridiculous like misnomer of performances and stuff like that. There's been some outliers, but all in all, we've had so many moments like that. But I think in terms of best game of the season, it probably is the Barcelona one. But that West Ham one, for some reason, just sticks in my brain as just one of my favourite moments. Just listening to listening to the Hammer fans slowly just become silent when they realise, shit, we probably fucked it here, haven't we?
Yeah, that was fantastic to see as well. And the fact the commentary were speaking about West Ham going through as well. Like literally before that as well, I was watching that one at home and they were literally saying, "Oh, West Ham going through to the next round," and then look, we scored 3. And Brian, you've been home, away, and you've had experiences this season. What stuck out to you?
Game of the season, I'm going to pick due to personal experience at the game. In the same vein as Jamie, talking about a game where you felt something clicked and you started to believe something a bit extra was happening. Barcelona away in the Europa League, mainly because most people that went to Barca away, or even as not whether you went or not, you're looking at a game going, we've been off the boil for years. We're coming up against Barca, no matter how good or bad Barca are, they're massive. You could very well go to Nou Camp and get your arse handed to you 4-0. And the mood overall going over to it was, this is either going to be tight or we're going to get a trouncing. Everyone was expecting it to be an absolutely dog shit away end. And we've been to Spain I think I've been to Spain 5 times in the last year or two. So almost fluent in Spanish. So it was kind of one of those games where you're just going, we'll go, hopefully it'll be half decent. It was fucking amazing. The away end was absolutely bouncing. The game itself, I thought we should have won. Hands down, we should have won it. The performance was fantastic. It was just a game where you were just standing there and you're getting fucking the hair in the back of your neck, just starting to stand up and go, Jesus, hang on a second, boys. We're giving Barca a lesson here. I know they're getting goals back, but we're ripping them apart and we're playing some fucking savage football. This is a side that's almost starting to click. And Signs on we went on to the second leg and got through, but like that was just a night. That night in particular, I stood there and I was like, Jesus Christ, this Ten Hag fella might have something. He might have something working here. Unbelievable experience. One of my favourite away ends of the season, and just an all-round great game for us.
Yeah, that one was brilliant, and I remember the fact Barcelona were on like, it was a 15 to 20 game unbeaten run as well on the lead up to that. They're 12 points clear in the league at the time as well, and like you said, it could have went any way. And the fact we went there and done what we done was great, and it showed that we can do it away from home, which kind of annoys you, kind of the away form we had later on the season. The fact we had to go to Nou Camp and play them off the park, and then you'll not be able to do it domestically. It's frustrating, but yeah, they're all fantastic games. The lads have said. Now I'm conscious of time, so I'm not going to do the last 2 categories. They can tell us. Well, I'll do it very quickly. Just one word answers. Signing of the season, Jamie.
Lisandro Martinez. It's between him and Casemiro, isn't it, realistically? But listen, Lisandro, because we'll probably get at least 5-6 years out of him, and he's only going to get better. Casemiro, though, could also be him. Either one.
Brian, do you agree?
Toss up between Casemiro for showing us what a midfielder should look like, and Wout Weghorst for showing us what a striker shouldn't.
Oh, yeah, that's great. And we'll go like disappointment of the season. Brian, Wout Weghorst, see your one?
No, Jadon Sancho. He's pissing me off.
Jadon Sancho and Jamie?
Anthony Martial. It was his last chance saloon for him, and I just think that he just couldn't be asked. So let's see, we'll see the back of him this summer, hopefully.
So Sancho, Martial. I'm going to go Donny van de Beek, because all this talk on Twitter that he was going to be this saviour and he couldn't get into the team. For 6 months, he couldn't get into the team, and he's meant to be Ten Hag's player. He's meant to be better than Bruno. And the amount of abuse I took off people on Twitter saying he was better than Bruno Fernandes. Well, yeah, look, he's a myth. So there's our categories. There's our season awards. Now, what we will do now is we're going to do our tier list. Evan says, mad to see Maguire not in the list. Maguire didn't play enough to be a disappointment, to be honest. If he was playing
and how can he disappoint us when we already know what he's going to bring? Do you know what I mean? Like, when he scored that own goal, I was just like, that's what you get from him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's different if he was expected to be good, but he wasn't. So yeah, we'll move on anyway. So look, we're doing this tier list as quickly as we can. So I'm just going to share my screen there now, boys. So I'm just going to make sure on YouTube that you can see the presenters as well as the the team as well. So, Brian and Jamie, can you see my tier list here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bang on. So, first player, obviously Phil Jones. We're going to put him to sell release because he's already leaving the club. Brian, I'm going to go to you first with this one. Facundo Palestri.
Needs more time going loan. Although I would have, towards the end of the season, I would have given more minutes, to be honest with you. But yeah, needs more time, I think.
Needs more time. Bang on. Jamie, do you agree with that one?
Yeah, spot on.
Needs more time. Perfect. Bang on. Zidane Iqbal, Jamie.
Again, needs more time. We've barely seen anything of him this season. So again, probably a loan for him next season, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I think he's probably one where it was strange that he didn't go on loan, and then he didn't play in the under-23s because he was on the bench for the first team. So yeah, it's a strange one. I think a loan deal for him would be ideal next season. I think he needs to develop, especially look, if he's getting to the age now where, if he's not going to play in the 23s, you're going to have to loan him for his development to see what he can do at first team level. Brian, Tyrell Malacia.
I like Tyrell Malacia. Nothing amazing, but stick him in as average.
Average.
Yeah, Keane as well. They're saying in the comments they can't see us as well.
They can't see the tier list.
I think no, they can't see us. They can just see the tier list.
Can't see us. That's fine, okay. But you can hear us, guys. That's the main thing, guys. You don't need to look at us anyway. Victor Lindelof, Jamie.
I'm going to go with nearly there. I think that he's come in for the Varane when he needs to, and he's performed really well. I think he's had some stick because he's had some, shaky partners over the years, but I think that he's a really important squad player for us. Again, I don't know if that's a rogue shout or not, but I think that he is up there as a good centre half.
Brian, do you agree with that one?
If there was a subcategory between average and nearly there, I'd probably fit him in there. But I think Jamie's right, yeah. With the categories we have, nearly there probably is the best fitting one for him, yeah.
Perfect. Bang on. I don't disagree with that either. I think, look, for the role he did this season, he filled in quite well. And he actually showed, that it was Maguire making him look worse than he actually was, to be fair. Brian, Marcel Sabitzer.
Sorry, to me, release.
Do you agree with that, Jamie? Do you think we should go in for him with the 20 million option?
No, not for that price, no. Especially with the injuries, man.
Yeah.
He hasn't done enough for us, has he?
No, I don't think so either. I think, look, he had a little bit of a purple patch where he had a couple of games and he actually looked decent. But yeah, look, the injuries and look, if we're on about challenging for league titles and we're challenging for Champions League, then look, I think Sabitzer isn't caught in the roster.
For 20 minutes against Sevilla, he looked like the best midfielder in the world, and then he just dropped off.
Yeah.
When you're coming on loan for a short-term loan like that, you're putting yourself in the shop window, and you've got to display yourself at the best of your ability, and he just didn't. I know he was unlucky with injuries, but you can only base your opinion on buying him or not based on what you've seen from him, and he just hasn't given us enough. So on we go. Yeah,
100%. Do we have any disagreements about putting Lisandro Martinez up here?
No,
absolutely not.
There's no reason even needed. Brian Murphy, I'm going to give you this one. Your favorite player, Pastor Fred. Talk to me.
Oh, Jesus. It depends what day of the week you ask me. I go through phases. Pastor Fred, decent backup. Probably the most decent we have, which isn't saying much because we don't have a whole pile of backup at the moment. Would I prefer better? Yes. I've seen him linked to Fulham. If that's the level of player he's probably not good enough for us going forward if we want to be a serious outfit. I would say average, but...
You just squeeze JD or do you put him in average as well?
Average,
yeah. I mean, he has his moments where you do think that okay, we're seeing the real Fred here, and then he just drops a stinker, doesn't he? He's a sort of player that he'd absolutely ball out in Italy. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think he'd be sensational in that Inter Milan side. But I just think, for how we play at the minute, he probably is just an average player. If we can get a bit of money for him in the summer, then I wouldn't be surprised to see him go. But he's not the worst player to have around the squad.
100%.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a good squad player at best, but look, again, like if you want to challenge for leagues and stuff, he isn't the player. I think I'll take Alvaro Fernandez here. I would go sell release. I think we have. Look, he's a good, talented young player. He done well at Preston last season, but we do have Malacia and Luke Shaw there, so I don't think he's going to play much football. I think it'd be better off to sell him, and maybe he can play at a championship or a Premier League club next season. Jamie, Christian Eriksen.
Ooh, I'm going to go with, this is a tricky one because there's been moments of season I would have said, he'd be in that nearly there category, but then he's had other games where he's in the average category. So yeah, like Brian said, if there was one in between, I'd probably put him there. I'm going to go with average, which might be doing him an injustice, but I think that there are upgrades on him out there that we can be picking up this summer. And I think for that reason alone, I'd put him in the average, but that's not a discredit to what he's done. The bounce back he's had from dying on the pitch. And he has had moments where it's been wicked, but it's just not been consistent enough for me throughout the course of the season.
Do you agree with that, Brian?
I'm glad Jamie went for the average rather than nearly there. I'm definitely more in the average bracket. If I had a choice, I'd replace him in the summer in the starting 11, and he'd become more of a rotational option for me. He's pushing on. He's starting to lose towards the end of the season. He definitely faded off. He looked new and shiny at the start of the season, but I don't think he's what he going forward. And defensively, he's suspect. So I'd rate him as a good backup option and rotation option going forward if we can bring someone in. But definitely not in the nearly there category.
Yeah, look, I think average is probably the best one. But look, for a free transfer, at least he's not sell and release one. Look, he's done reasonably okay. I put Mengi in the sell and release category myself. Again, with the centre back options we have, I don't think he's going to get much game time. I think for his development, he needs to go elsewhere. And he's had injury problems, a lot of them as well. So, I think that speaks for itself. What I'm actually going to do to speed this process up is I'm going to put players who have already gone into the sell and release column. So Dijon Bernard left the other day. Alex Telles, Brian, I'll give you him.
Gone. Cheerio, mate.
There you go. No explanation needed. Tom Heaton, Jamie.
I don't think it really matters, does it? Because he doesn't play football for us. He's average. It's not needs more time because he's over 30. He's not going to get much more time.
Game in pre-season, didn't he? That's like not pre-season during the World Cup break, didn't he? Had one really good game and goal injury. Yeah, we'll go average. Look, again, for the time he played, he was good. But yeah, look, can you put him in needs more time when he's like 36, 37? You can't really.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll stick with average. Jack Butland's gone to Rangers. Yeah, so he's going there. Dean Henderson, Brian, I'm glad you got this one.
Great. I'll save the listeners any expletives. Sell, release immediately.
Perfect. Jamie, Rafa Varane.
Elite. The only thing with him is obviously his injury problems are a bit of an annoyance at times, but when that man plays football, especially alongside Lissandro, that is one of the best centre-half partnerships around.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I don't think Brian's going to disagree either. Casemiro, Brian.
If there was a level above elite, I'd put him there, but stick him elite.
In elite?
Agreed.
Perfect. Oh, Jamie. Yeah.
Sell, release. Look, I've said this on this channel multiple times. We are so bad at dealing with club legends that they get to a point where they become a problem and it ruins their legacy. And we're going to see that happen with another club legend. Like, the guy has done everything he can do to earn his place in United folklore, and he should rightfully be remembered in the same breath as the likes of Schmeichel and Van der Sar and stuff like that. But we're going to do that thing where he's going to become a problem for us. And this summer, it should be thanks for all the work, Dave. Thanks for the 12, 13 years you've given us. Time to go.
Do you agree, Brian? Do you think he's kind of, this, I suppose, current style of football is kind of past him now, and we need to kind of maybe look for a more progressive goalkeeper?
Golden Glove winner, elite. I'm only joking. It's a funny one. Jamie's nailed it. His legacy, or whatever you want to call it, it's already been destroyed, to be fair. And by and large, it's because of social media. It's allowed a pile on him for the last while. He's he's not a bad keeper in the keeper sense of goalkeeping. He's just shit with his feet. He'd be a decent backup. I don't think he's going to stay for a backup option. He cannot be our number one going forward. I tried to back him up as much as I could for as long as I could, he's not there. He's still a cracking goalkeeper at shot stopping, but in modern football, the way it's gone, he's not at the races with his feet. He causes too many calamitous mistakes. Either average to keep him on the bench or sell and release. Either or.
Yeah, we'll stick with sell and release because that's exactly where I'm going on. I've gave too many explanations before anyway. Based on his tweets there last weekend to Rio Ferdinand, I'm just going to stick on the to be fair, look, I'm going to take this one, sell and release, based off football and performances. But his performances on social media have been elite recently. Good old Brandon. I wish some players would show that type of character on the pitch. Jamie, Anthony Elanga.
There's obviously been rumours that we're linked with like a £10 million sale with him, which is stupid money. Like he's worth more than that, but I don't agree with the idea. I do agree, with the notion that we're going to sell him. I think that again there are better prospects in the squad than him. He's already been usurped by Alejandro Garnacho, who has bags more talent than he does. So you have to think for Elanga's development and game time, where's he going to get the most first-team football? And again, I think he'd thrive in Germany. He'd do well in Italy or somewhere like that. But I just think the Premier League is not necessarily up to his standard.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think, he does need to move away. I think he'd be brilliant in the Bundesliga. I'm not going to lie. I think that would be a great environment for him. Defenses that play high lines, he'd thrive in that league. Sorry, Reese, I just have to say it. Brian, Anthony.
Nearly there.
Do you agree with that one, Jamie?
Yeah, spot on.
Jamie, I'm going to give you Alejandro Garnacho, Brian's love child.
So this is the one that probably breaks all the categories because there isn't the right category necessarily for him here. The performances we've seen him, he has been elite, but at the same time, he obviously needs more time to develop into the player that we know that he can become. I'm going to go. Fucking hell, this is an hard one. I'm going to go with nearly there because I think that the ceiling that he has is just infinite. Do you know what I mean? He'll determine how good he is as a player as long as he keeps the right people around him and keeps himself grounded. But what we've seen of him, Brian hit the nail on the head. He's electric. He's exciting. Every time he gets on the ball, man, I'm out of my seat. And I don't think Old Trafford's taken to a youth player this quick in a long time. The guy's a baller.
Yeah, he's sensational. I think, he's one of the most exciting young players we've had in a long time. And Brian, are you happy with nearly there?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't played enough to be in the elite category, although he's like a nearly there 0.5.
Yeah.
He's just, I'm going to go as far as to say he's probably one of the most exciting players in world football at his age at the moment. He's going to light the place alive and fuck off to Madrid in about 5 years. We all know what's going to happen, but yeah.
Yeah, we're all going to be heartbroken. Yeah, it's going to be like Ronaldo 2.0, and it's just going to happen. Diogo Dalot, I'm going to go average. I think before the World Cup, he probably would have been nearly there. But I think post-World Cup with injuries and some of his performances going down, I think personally for me, I'd have him an average. Do you disagree with me, lads?
No.
I don't disagree with you. I probably would have said sell 6 months ago. It depends if there's someone coming in or not. If there's someone coming in, I would sell.
Sell. Yeah, that's fair. Jamie, are you in sell or are you in average?
Yeah, I think it's one of those. If we can, I know obviously we've been linked with Yuri and Timber, and we've been linked with Jeremy Frimpong and stuff like that. If there's a suitable replacement that is better than him, then you take the money. But the time being, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because if we sell him and Brandon Williams, we're very thin for right back options. So as long as there's a player to replace him, I wouldn't be against selling him.
Yeah, so we'll stick with sell and release because we'll go with the majority. Sure, Thierry, I'm going to go. It's hard with the amount of attackers we have. I think he has a lot of great potential, but I don't think he's going to make it at United. So I'm going to go with sell and release. Brian, I'm going to give you this one here. Joe Peckhorst.
I'm not the strongest or biggest fella in the world, but I'd gladly risk my physical attributes to piggyback him back to Burnley to the rest of his six-fingered friends. If anybody's willing to share the journey with me and take a load off me for half an hour, that'd be great, but get him out of this club instantly.
Jamie, do you have any disagreements with that one?
Nah, for the first couple of games I tried to defend him. His pressing stats were good and stuff like that, but at the same time, if you're a 6'4" centre forward who can't win a header, what you're doing here. Julio hit the nail on the head that I'd rather have played Fellaini at number 9 for the entirety of the season than had Wout Weghorst.
I just stuck Maguire up top.
Yeah, you know what? To be fair, we probably could have put Erik ten Hag up top, and he would have scored as many goals as Weghorst did.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go with Hannibal Mejbri. I'm going to go needs more time. I actually think he had a great loan move at Birmingham, and the fact that we need more midfielders next season, especially in that kind of attacking midfield role, I think he's someone who could be an X factor next season. I think he could have a similar breakout season to what Mason Mount had when he went on loan to Derby and then broke in at Chelsea. I think Mejbri could actually maybe have that this season, especially the fact that he can play at a number 8 and number 10 next season. I'm going to give you Bruno Fernandes, Jamie.
Elite, simple as. He's the most elite player we've had in a long time.
Yeah. Do you any disagreements, Brian?
I know why you've given him Bruno, because you've given me the next one on purpose. Go on.
Yeah, Brian, your favourite man, Mr. McTerminator.
You're a heartless man, Keane Franny. You're a heartless man. Oh, Jesus Christ. Right. Scott McTominay. I love Scott McTominay. I always have, and I can't take it away from him. I love the fella. I love his attitude. I love his drive. I love his desire. I've come around to realise that he's probably not ever going to make it as a first-team player at United moving forward. So I'm willing to say if the right offer comes in, I'd let him go. But I don't think he's a bad squad option to have on the bench. That's as honest and as fair as I can be. I can see him leaving in the summer, so I'd probably say sell release, only the fact I know there's a few clubs sniffing around him, if we're led to believe.
Yeah, Newcastle are looking at him for 40 million. Jamie, would you be in sell and release, or would you be looking at another category for him?
So I'd agree with Brian. I put him in sell and release, not because I want rid of him, but because I think for him it would be the best move. I agree that I think he's a good squad player. He loves the badge, he loves the club. We get good performances out of him sort of every 1 in 10 games. If someone comes in and pays 30, 40 million for him, then I think it's sayonara, Scott McTominay.
And just to finish it off, if he does join Newcastle, I hope Casemiro snaps him in half in the first game. Continue.
Yeah, agreed.
100%. On that, you might have seen a quick transition. I've put Eric Bailly and Tuanzebe in there. Bailly is destined to leave and Tuanzebe's already gone, so we've put him in there. We're going to go Anthony Martial. I'm going to give you him, Jamie.
Sell release. He's had his chance. I've never seen a more disinterested footballer in my life. Yeah,
I don't think we delve into that anymore. Au revoir. Luke Shaw, I'll take this one. I'm going to go elite. I think if you look at the first 2 games, you might have said his time might have been up, but the fact that he's been our most consistent player, one of our most consistent players in the defence, and the fact he's played a centre back and played exceptionally there, I'd put him in at elite for me. Based on this season, would you have any disagreements, lads, on Luke Shaw?
Nope.
Luke Shaw, I will honestly say, has rammed every single word I ever said against him back my throat with aplomb. Congratulations, Luke Shaw. He's really turned it around. I thought he was gone dead and buried after that injury. Didn't see a future for him at the club, and he's been absolutely unbelievable. So, well done, Chunks.
Yeah, absolutely. He's done fantastically well, and look, he's been a brilliant player. Brian, I've done you lovely again. Jadon Sancho.
Again, Jadon Sancho pisses me off to the extreme, because when Jadon Sancho was being signed, not to be long-winded about it, when he was being signed, I was one of those people who said, don't know. I honestly don't know. And I've got plenty of people who can back up the fact that I said, I don't know. I was getting told he was a generational talent. He was this, that, and the other thing. Just couldn't see it. I can't see how he's going to turn it around with us. He's slow. He slows down every counter-attack we go on. He's a massive tendency to turn back instead of going at the defender. People keep saying that's not his game. He doesn't take on a fullback. You're a winger. Take the fucking fullback on. Whether that's your game or not. In the English Premier League, you beat your defender, you stick it in. The fact we didn't have a striker probably didn't help him. But he's so yellow. Doesn't track back. Doesn't get into tackles. Shirks out of any challenge. and he's just done my tits in for the whole season. I would honestly cash in on him. I saw something that there was a 40 or 50 or 60 million interest from someone or other during the week. I'd take him all day long. I'd take it and get rid of him.
Are you in the same boat, Jamie, or would you be willing to give him more time?
See, I'd give him more. I would give him one more season. I can, sympathise with what Brian's saying, and I do understand that. He is frustrating, and I think the frustration is born from an area of we expect so much more from him than he gives us. But again, if we can get a centre forward over the line, that changes the dynamic of our front line. We might see a different Jadon Sancho, but I think this season is crucial for him. This is his last chance saloon, and then it's cash in time.
I wish we had a category between needs more time and sell release. What we'll do with this one is we'll keep him in around here for now. But look, the comment section, you guys can look. We can maybe make an alteration if you want to put him in a different category. Someone saying Bruno ghosts in big games. Yeah, he hasn't this season. That's a lie. But look, I'll take next one. Amad Diallo. I'm going to go needs more time. I think he's been brilliant with Sunderland, had a brilliant loan deal. He has great potential. I won't put him in nearly there yet because we need to see him play more games at first team level. Harry Maguire, I'm going to take this one as well. Sell release. Yeah, I'm not even going to delve into that anymore. Jamie, your fellow Whitenshaw man, Marcus Rashford, take it away.
Elite. No questions asked. I won't hear anything else about him.
Yeah, perfect. Brian, Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
See, I listened to both of your cases for him being this revelation at right back. It's probably my fault because around Christmas time I wrote an article on Aaron Wan-Bissaka for Stretty News where I detailed why I don't think he's good enough for United, and then he turned into fucking Cafu about a week later, which is just typical. But I don't see it. Okay, defensively he's brilliant. He is brilliant defensively at times. I think his positional play can be poor. I think he gets blown out of proportion sometimes. This isn't against you guys specifically. I'm just talking about in general. I think he gets blown out of proportions at times. I don't think he's that good going forward. And again, if we're talking about modern football, and if De Gea gets slated for modern football, I think your fullback needs to be able to get forward, bomb down the wing, stick in crosses. I don't see it in him just because people talk about the eye test, which pisses me off, but it's a good description for what I'm trying to say. He looks so awkward on a ball. I can never feel comfortable about him going forward or 1-2s and stuff. He doesn't do it for me. I'm probably a weirdo. Maybe I am. I just don't know. I'd love to see us sign a better right back and have him as a fantastic backup. But I'm going to stay average. And I know you're both going to tear me apart for that. But go for it.
Oh no! Look, on this channel, everyone's opinion. At the end of the day, we accept it. And look, people see games in different ways. And look, for me, I can see where that comes from. So look, for me, I'd probably be in the nearly there category with him. Actually, sorry, no, I'd be in the needs more time because I think if he can continue the form he continued after Christmas, then look, I'd be happy with keeping him in the squad. Where are you, Jamie, on this one? Would you be average, needs more time?
See, again, I'm not going to shove my opinion down the throat. I think that, what Brian's saying, it does resonate with me, and I do understand that. I just think that, obviously, he's had a really good turnaround season. But like I said before, if we were to capitalise on the fact he's had that good form and somebody came in with an offer and Ten Hag thinks that there is an improvement out there that he can make, I wouldn't be against us improving in that area. And again, he's a mint option to have because there's very, very few elite defensive right backs knocking around, and he's really good to have in those moments where you need to lock down that left wing or whatever. And he does that really well. We've seen him do that time and time again. So for me, I wouldn't want to see him sold or released. I can see why people are putting him in the average category, but I probably would go with the needs more time. But I would like to see us sign a more well-rounded right back than both him and Diogo Dalot, if that makes sense.
To be fair, look, we've also Wheaton Lair coming through who could maybe trump one or two of them, depending if he can stay fit. But look, he's an odd one. To be fair, if he goes back to the form that he had when Solskjaer got sacked, we'd be putting him into sell release. But look, to be fair, you could literally throw Aaron Wan-Bissaka in any of these three right now, and there's a debate for any three of them in terms of the squad long term. And Donny van de Beek, I'm going to take this one straight away because it's the last player. I'm going to sell release. See you later. You have a bit of resale value. Yeah, I think that one speaks for itself. I think the social media hype that he had coming from Ajax, he didn't live up to it. And look at the way we want to play now. I don't think Donny van de Beek, for me personally anyway, I don't think he's had enough. I think he's had enough chances under 3 different managers, and he hasn't impressed at all. Do any of you disagree with me on the last player?
No, don't disagree with you. Massive disappointment when we signed him. I like to hear what opposition or rival fans think about players we sign, because usually they're very quick to write him off. And one of my good mates, who's a Chelsea fan, he instantly said, "Fuck me, he's a great signing. He's a really good footballer, him," which kind of stirred me a small bit. And I was like, right, because usually he'd take the piss and be like, "No, he's crap." That made me kind of stand up and look at it and go, right, maybe he's actually really, really good. And he did have a great reputation, and he looked good coming from Ajax. I expected so much more from him, and he's just been an absolutely shambolic signing so far, which is a real shame because, again, doesn't come across as an arsehole by any means. Seems like a good lad. Just hasn't worked out for him at all. So I hope he does move on, and I hope he has a decent career afterwards.
Yeah, 100%. Look, and I think we get a decent fee for him as well. On that. Look, before we wrap up, because both of you are match going fans, I wanted to bring this question up to both of you. Obviously, look, both of you aren't the biggest fans of particular channels out there, in particular people who talk about Man United. We're not going to name these people fully, but anyone who knows them and anyone looks at their both lads' social media will know who we're talking about here. Brian, obviously for yourself, you think right now, obviously there's many different outlets out there. Obviously, United We Stand, who do great work. Joe, obviously there's Stretty News. There's other people out there who do content, their own content, and they're in their lane and they do fantastic work. Do you think match goers like myself, Jamie, others, do you think from the match going perspective right now, because of people, I have to name them, Mark Goldbridge, Shawnee FX, Saeed, Rants, people like that, they've created a stigma almost towards other people, like genuine fans who would have a platform to create content almost. Do you think they've kind of ruined that space for Joe? Like the normal fan, and do you think, that they've caused a lot of kind of disruption for us, and maybe other people might paint us with a brush that they've already been painted with?
It's a funny one because I've been very vocal and I've been very outspoken about my feelings towards, in inverted commas, fan cams. I mean, it's a broad spectrum of description of people, but some of the lads you've named, yeah, I've written numerous articles where I've gone in hard on them. I think it's a kind of a strange time in our I won't say history, but it's a strange time in modern football where being a match going fan gets you labelled as a top red, which is somehow just used as an insult for some. It doesn't really make sense to me, to be honest with you. There's this ongoing social media debate, or the social media agenda against match going fans, where instantly the non-match going fans feel that you think you're better than them. Whether you say that or whether you give that impression or not, their instant responses, "Oh, you go to X amount of games a season," or "You're lucky that you're from Salford," or "You're this, that, and the other thing, but without us, you'd be nothing." And there's this never-ending over and back bickering and bullshit. Does it annoy me? It does. I don't look, it's funny, I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I lived in Australia for 6 years. I've done the whole getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single match for 6 seasons. I think I missed 2 games in 6 years. I understand it. I've got some great friends across the seas, some brilliant United fans down there from New Zealand, from Australia and surrounding. I see their point of view. I can understand why they might at times feel slightly like they're outsiders. I can feel why certain demographics of match-going fans would consider them outsiders. It's a funny one. It's a topic that shouldn't even be fucking up for debate. It's a topic that shouldn't even be an issue because, JD Dyche, who's the chair of Must, put up a fantastic thread on Twitter today, I think it was, if you read that thread, I don't know if you've seen it or not, but if you read that thread and take it for face value and take it for what it is, he essentially covers this topic and says the difference between match-going fans and non-match-going fans is not that one is better than the other, or not one is more valid opinion, or blah, blah, blah. It's a different experience. The experience that the three of us, for the sake of argument, experience I'd have had last season, I think I did like 14 at the domestic aways out of 19. I did 3, 4, 5, 6 at European aways, I can't remember, X amount of home games. I did that because I'm lucky enough geographically to live close enough to Manchester, without being from Manchester, obviously, close enough to Manchester that financially it's viable. I'm lucky enough that I can financially afford to do these things. And I have the opportunity afforded to me to turn up to 20 to 30 games a season. The experience I've gone through this season is undeniably different to someone who lives in random place, Texas. Massive red from Texas, hasn't been to a game all season. That person's experience will be completely different to mine, solely because I'll have experienced the passion on the sideline, the feeling amongst the fans at certain games in certain times of the game. It's a lot different watching it on telly than it is being in the ground. I mean, even for watching a match, talking about Jadon Sancho, case in point, I've stood on the sideline of games watching Jadon Sancho for a few minutes, and you don't see on TV where you do see him not bothering his bollocks tracking back, just being completely and utterly lazy. You don't see it in Sky Sports, you do see it when you're at the game. So experience-wise, it's different. I don't think there's a need for these agendas being pushed against match-going fans. It's like being a match-going fan these days is almost a dirty fucking comment. It's not. It's just because social media has gone mental, and fucking Saeed and Rance and Flex and Mark Goldbridge and Johnny FX and all these other fucking dickheads, they use it as a weapon against people who don't agree with them, because commonly and realistically 99.9% of the regular match-going fan base will not have anything in common with these people, especially the fact that they're pushing such agendas every single day for their own goodwill and for their own clicks and views. So it comes from that, and I don't think the divide is necessary as such. It's created by those people who feel that creating a divide and trying to unify the fact that there's 6 million more non-match going fans than there is of the X amount of us match going fans. They can see the opportunity to garner a bit of support and turn them against us. So in a long-winded way, I don't think it's necessary. I think it's totally and utterly silly that match-going fans have now become a target by non-match-going fans for abuse and for coming in on people and slagging them off. I put up something on Twitter the other day about my feelings on the takeover about Qatar, why I don't want us taken over by Qatar based on traditional views and historical views and selling our soul out and all the rest of it. But my points were very much pride based on the fact that I'm proud of the club I support and what we're about and who we are. And I think we're better than the fact that City, Chelsea, Newcastle, etc. have sold out, in my opinion, sold out for the big money, and they've sold out for this hollow success. My views were football based, nothing to do with sports washing or human rights or anything else. And I got it in the neck from people going, "You're xenophobic, you're fucking this, you're racist, you just hate not winning trophies." I mean, it's a never-ending cauldron of bullshit on social media, and we all fall into the trap. So there's my long-winded rant about the whole thing.
Yeah, and Jamie, do you have anything to add? Because you've obviously had you're on both ends of the spectrum in terms of you're a match scorer, but also you do what we do. Like we talk about United on a platform. Now we're always balanced, and we never drive agendas against anybody. Do you think people like the Saeeds, the Goldbridges, the Rants, the Johnny FX have created a space for us where we're getting brandished that same brush as them because we do what we do?
Yeah, I think, fan cams, or, like Brian said in inverted commas, I think it's a dirty word now, do you know what I mean? And it is a dirty phrase because we've seen the explosion of like AFTV and stuff like that. We've seen the United stand where it's profitable for them to clickbait. It's profitable for them to do something controversial so that people watch it either through, the enjoyment of the content or to disagree with them. I don't think that like Robbie from AFTV or Mark Goldbridge really care one way or another whether people agree with them. They care about how many people are watching and engaging with that content, whether that's through good engagement or bad engagement. They don't care, and I think it does. It tars over. Like I say, there's plenty of people out there doing great work for their clubs. Not just us, but other clubs throughout the Premier League, throughout the EFL and stuff like that. just trying to raise the profile and give people a platform to give their opinion. And you know, I think that needs to be commended. And there's some like YouTube stuff out of there. And just to piggyback off what Brian's saying is that, so my thing, and I literally said this the other week when we were having that space on Twitter, is that no one person has more right to support a football club than anyone else, right? Based on your geographical location or anything like that. What does really grind my gears though, and Brian hit the nail on the head, is this idea of top Reds versus E-Reds and stuff like that. Like, we've had enough division in the fan base since Fergie retired without different sets of fans going at each other constantly on Twitter. And now the biggest one that's causing the division at the minute is the whole Qatari versus Sir Jim Ratcliffe ownership debate. Because, and I don't mean this in a horrible way, and I hope no one takes it out of context, but the majority of people I've seen twerking for the Qataris and desperate for Qatari ownership probably could not point to Manchester on a map. And I've said that before. And my reservations to having Qatari ownership is exactly like Brian said, is that we're a traditional club. We're probably the biggest club in England. If we can be used as the front for a sports washing enterprise, if we can be, sell our soul to a Qatari prince or whatever, anybody else in the football pyramid, it can happen to them. And it will be the start of the death of football has been coming for a long time. You can say that even down to the Sky deal, in the rebranding of the Premier League back in '92, like that started the cycle. Chelsea being bought by an oligarch, City with Sheikh Mansour, like it's been a domino effect. This is the biggest domino that will fall. If Manchester United is sold to Qatari royalty, then that's it. It will be a case of, if you are not owned by Middle Eastern royalty or somebody that can stump up that money, say goodbye to any sort of football that you think you have. And that's what I think for me is a shame. We're a big enough club without somebody pumping money into us. We earn enough revenue on our own back. What we need is clean and proper ownership that will remove the debt and will release the funds that we generate ourselves holistically back into the club to allow for renovations to the stadium, to reconnect with the fan base, because we've obviously had nothing but protests, rightfully so, since 2005. We need an owner that gets the club, that gets the history, it gets the community, and engages with every single type of fan. And that could be someone like me that grew up 10 minutes away from Old Trafford in Wythenshawe, and it could be someone that, like we said, stays up till 4 a.m. or wakes up at 4 a.m, whatever, to watch. It needs to be somebody that encompasses every section of this fan base and reunites us under the one goal of being successful, but in a proper way. And what we've ended up now with is people that, because they don't experience things like, having a beer in the toll gate before a game or whatever, and that camaraderie that you have, they don't experience the drive down to Wembley where you're nervous and you're excited. All they see is 90 minutes on the TV, and whether it's glory or not. So to them, they'll sit there going to summer, we need to go out and sign Mbappe. We need to go out and sign Neymar. Whatever the next shiny toy is, I don't care where the money comes from. I just want it. I want it at my club because I want to see us win trophies at the end of the year. And it's just like, and I think that is the difference, is that you ask most match-going fans whether the season was a success or not, and they will say absolutely, because it's been the most fun I've had at United for a while. I've had some of the best days supporting United I've had for a while. But to somebody that follows us, and this is not a slate to them, but to somebody that follows us primarily through TV broadcasts, keeps up to date with on social media, they'll say that it was not a success because they won't experience all those little nuances that we get to experience, week in, week out. And it's a shame, because I'd love for more people to be able to come over and experience that, because, like I say, we're sat in the sun at the tollgate having a beer, you get yourself G'd up for the Chelsea game, and you sort of get to the point where you're walking down to the ground and you're like, I've already had a fucking mint time. A result's the bonus on top of that. And then obviously the result comes in and you're bouncing, you're absolutely buzzing. And I just want, for once, a unified United fan base. And the sooner this ownership malarkey is dealt with and we can stop with these debates, we can stop with this petty squabbling amongst fan base, certain fan channels using it as a means to drive traffic onto their YouTube sites and stuff like that. And we can just get back to supporting the club that we all love. Whether you're supporting it from 1,000 miles away or from 10 miles away, I don't care. If you back the Reds and you back them for the right reasons, then for me, you're as much a top Red as anyone else. And it's one of those, we're the biggest club in England for a reason. We're one of the best clubs in the world for a reason. And the fans, all the fans, need to just accept the fact that we support the same great club for the same great reason, that we want to see it back at the pinnacle of English football. But for me, man, it has to be done properly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And on that,
right. Piggyback off Jamie's comment there. I'll pose a question to anybody listening who might fall into the category I'm talking about. Jamie, Keane, if we were relegated tomorrow morning, would you still follow United?
100%.
Absolutely.
I can guarantee you, categorically speaking, the people who make these comments, if that happened and we fell apart and we got relegated, I'd be fucking looking forward to Doncaster away for the piss up and bit of crack and going away with the lads. They would drop off like that. Gone. It's not about following the club. It's not about loving the club. It's not about supporting United. It's about trophies and it's about success and about fancy, shiny, brand new names they can get in the back of their shirt. At the end of the day, you love a club or you don't. You either love it all the way, no matter what happens, or you're just watching it on telly like it's a TV show. And that's not a dig at everyone. It's a dig at certain people who are using this agenda to have a pop at lads who go to games. Lads who go to games put in an extreme, hands up, financially, it costs a fucking fortune.
Yeah.
Time away from your wife and kids, time away from your family, days off work. It's an effort. But to get it demeaned because some chap decides, oh, we haven't signed Vinicius Jr., we haven't got Neymar, we haven't got Mbappe, and we haven't won the quadruple, so it's a fucking failure. It's not. It's not. Exactly what Jamie said. This season has been a success. You asked any one of us at the start of this year, if I gave you a Carabao Cup final, which most of us, if not all of us, were at, and had a fucking amazing day out, get back in the Champions League top four after the shit show we've been for the last while, get to the FA Cup final.
Be unlucky to lose that as well, by the way.
And look, yeah, I agree with that. Unlucky to lose that with a team that was on its last legs. And shit the bed against Sevilla where we should have got through and I would have given us a good run for our money for the Europa. If that isn't a successful season, in a rebuild transformation season, we'll call it for the sake of argument, I don't know what can be, because you have these fellas who have their heads in their clouds saying, if you don't win the league, it's not a success. I'll agree with that if we're at the level that we should be competing for the league. This season we weren't. We couldn't expect that. You couldn't under any circumstances demand we won the league this season. It wasn't realistic, and under any shape or form. In another 2 or 3 years' time, if we continue the trajectory we're on, yes, then I'll accept someone saying we didn't challenge or we didn't win. It's a failure. Fair enough. You've got to be realistic, lads. I mean, we've come through 10 years of being up, down, up, down, 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 up, up, down, down. It's not been 10 years of fucking first, second, challenging, fighting for titles. We're at a certain level where we're at. You've got to appreciate what we're doing and what we're trying to build going forward. We're doing all this with a bunch of fucking leeches owning the club, tearing it apart, and a fan base that's at each other's throats. Erik Ten Hag, my hat's off to him, because he's a better man than I am. I don't know how he's done so well with what he's got to deal with.
And on that, I think on that last statement, we will wrap that up, because I think Erik Ten Hag's done a fantastic job, and we are going in the right direction. And let's hope, look, this ownership saga is over sooner rather than later. But thanks very much for Jamie and Brian for coming on tonight. It's been a fantastic chat. We've had a great discussion here tonight, and look, I'm glad I left that topic to the end, because the lads they spoke so well there. For everyone as well, look, we will, if anything happens with the takeover this week, we will do a pod. Mark has people prepared to jump on then. And also, if you missed our interview with Rob Dawson, do check that out after this as well. We got a few exclusives on transfers and stuff like that as well, so do check that out. But do check the lads' Twitter handles out there as well. But until then, guys, do like, share, subscribe, and as always, we'll see you later.